So next up is Sankar from Hitachi. So he's going to give us a fantastic talk about how Hitachi offers their solution.
I think we had great sessions, right? From AWS to Apple, and I think we are going to hear from Microsoft as well. We're going to bring perspectives more from technology platform standpoint. So I thought I would bring perspectives more from an industry standpoint, your target end users, right? So your target customer base. And also more from a system integration standpoint, right? Particularly in the era of Industry 5.0. How many of you are familiar with Industry 4.0, 5.0 terms? Awesome, because you're all building for physical AI. No surprise, you're very familiar with this. By the way, my name is Sankar Natarajan, a part of Hitachi, and I run Hitachi's global smart manufacturing and operations and digital engineering practices, right? Hitachi has been in business for about close to 120 years now, right? Potentially your target customer as well, right? So we are a manufacturer of several things, from rail cars to transformers to high-tech products to med-tech products to even semiconductor equipments and so on and so forth. We have about 300 plus factories. But then close to 20 billion of our business comes from digital systems and services, where we work with 600 plus customers from across globe in their industrial transformation. That's why when I said I would bring really perspectives more from your target users, or rather target customer base, as well as the vehicle to get there, which is the system integration ecosystem. So that's really where I come from, and doing this for about 20 plus years. Now, a little bit, I already talked about Hitachi, right? We are the eighth largest technology company in the world, and 24th largest manufacturing company with close to 300 plus plants. So when we talk about AI, physical AI, from a traditional machine learning to the generative to industrial and physical, so it's highly relevant for us, right? So as a company, as we make things, and also as a digital systems and service provider to the industry, in terms of how we bring and commission this for our customers, right? We have several of our factories at highest quote-unquote digital maturity, right? So World Economic Forum calls Lighthouse, that's a category of factories that have achieved the highest level of maturity from a digital standpoint, right? So we do have a few of such factories. There are only about 165 as we speak that World Economic Forum has recognized. We do have few of them. We had opportunity to collaborate with them to help gain such high maturity, right? Now, Industry 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, these are not just mere terms, right? It's been almost close to 15 years since we have been dealing with quote-unquote the Industry 4.0 blueprint, right? Of course, there are examples, tremendous examples of companies achieved higher degree of digital maturity when it comes to their manufacturing operations. But then, is that really good enough? Is that really adding value? The reality is, as we collaborate with over 600 plus companies from across automotive to aerospace and defense to energy and utilities to high-tech, med-tech, and so on and so forth, many of those initiatives didn't go beyond pilot phase, right? So many of those digital initiatives, AI initiatives, didn't pick up pace, right? Obviously, everybody wants to really bring AI to their shop floor and operations and supply chain. But then, would you be able to do that and scale it up is really the biggest challenge, at the same time opportunity, right? So today what's happening, no matter how hard you try to digitalize something, but in a siloed fashion won't really take you anywhere. That's really the broader spectrum of problem that we see in the industry today, right? A lack of thinking at the intersection of products, factories, assets, and operations. In other words, translating that to technologies, lack of approaching this at the intersection of your engineering technology to operational technology to information technology with AI as a common denominator, right? So this is broadly contributing to the problem of why companies are not able to scale. As you guys as startup ecosystem attempting to cater to the industry, I think this is a very important dimension to keep in mind, right? Yes, some of the examples that we saw from the amazing presentation from AWS, right? Pick and place, of course, those are something that you need to figure out, right? So those are the building blocks, but that alone is not going to really yield any value. So how do we think at the intersection of these dimensions to help drive significant impact? Because at the end of the day, at some point in time, somebody has to be able to answer internally from an industrial company standpoint,
Sorry, just want to make sure the mic is.
Sure.
You're
I keep
being
walking.
heard.
So, yeah. So at some point in time, somebody need to be awesome. It's a CapEx question, right? As is, one of the other presenters talked about. At some point in time, in any enterprise, somebody needs to be able to answer in terms of why you are going after all these cool, shiny toys. What business problem are we going to solve, and what business value are we going to demonstrate? What's the ROI, right? So that is really where the scaling part becomes very important. So as you build for use cases that could scale rather than use cases that could basically help bring some initial joy, but not necessarily the scale, right? So that's really the primary problem of Industry 4.0, right? The siloed nature of how companies approached this across the dimensions of products, factories, assets, and operations, and the siloed nature of not thinking at the intersection of engineering technology to information technology to operational technology, right? Now, which is really where we are progressing rapidly from 4.0 to 5.0. To us, as one of the largest manufacturers, as well as digital systems and service providers, physical AI is the key catalyst when it comes to 5.0, right? So AI is rapidly evolving, as we all know, and physical AI is going to really play a very vital role in the era of Industry 5.0, right? So I don't want to sound too academic here, but there are a few things, right? So that you may be already familiar with, right? So thinking from your target customer base standpoint, all along they had been focusing on more from an efficiency and optimization standpoint, right? So physical AI and what you're trying to build with that, I would assume that you are attempting to solve business problems in the manufacturing, operations, supply chain, logistics. Those are potentially the areas where physical AI, the application of physical AI is immense, right? But then if you take a step back, so far the approach the companies took were more really towards efficiency and optimization. Of course, that is table stakes, right? So it's going to be there. But that alone is not enough, right? So how do you really go to higher resiliency? And the concept of lights out production or lights of production exists for quite some time, right? So now in the era of physical AI, what it can really do. And on the other hand, from a customer demand standpoint, run-of-the-mill or highly standard products versus consumers preferring more tailored, customized products, and how much of variability would that bring to your manufacturing operations, and how could you bring AI to be able to address that in the context of your lights of production scenarios, right? So I know there are a lot of words there, but the point is the 4.0 to 5.0 progression is taking place whether we like it or not as we speak, and physical AI has a very deep role in terms of enabling that. The 4.0 era focused more really on the mission part, right? So more of an automated execution. To be very candid, we have not really achieved the highest maturity there, right? So that's there. But then when we talk about 5.0, we are thinking really beyond a very simple, predefined robotic automation to missions on the shop floor becoming highly cognitive, intelligent, and self-optimizing, right? We have AGVs, AMRs, and forklifts, and so on and so forth, and highly sophisticated equipments, right? So for various applications. But they're all really today, if you see from the kind of programming that is done to those things and how independent they are, right? So not really centrally managed or orchestrated. But when we are talking about factories becoming highly autonomous, the equipments and assets and the tools inside the factory need to really form an ecosystem, and that ecosystem has to become really highly intelligent and self-optimizing, right? So that's really where we are getting into quote-unquote the Industry 5.0 powered by physical AI, right? Now, there are certain trends, right? So I'm sure as you're building for the industry with physical AI as the common enabling theme, I'm sure you know really some of the key trends and imperatives. But the bottom line here is, somebody was raising hand with 5 minutes is what I have. So let me skim through, but I'm going to be here for some time, happy to talk offline. So the next wave of value will come from AI acting in the real world, right? And then it's not easy, it's very hard, right? So as I said, we are dealing with real world problems because we have 300 factories and we make things of different sort, right? So different nature in each of our factories, and somebody was talking about how heterogeneous factories are, right? When you build a software product, your end customers are consumers. You could assume that predominantly the usage pattern is going to be pretty common, right? But when you build for physical environment, the environment itself is not identical. It's extremely heterogeneous. That brings a lot of dimensions and risks and aspects that you need to consider. So the way we look at, right? So when you think about it, it's a heavy slide, but the way we look at thinking from your target customer base standpoint, right? When we talk about how physical AI could come and enable the vision of Industry 5.0 to drive the next level of product and operational innovation and cost optimization, more importantly, and to also drive revenue and profitability, right? It's not just going to be a robot in the shop floor attempting to take certain things and then put it where it needs to belong, right? So it needs to go beyond that. If companies need to really realize the value of 5.0 powered by AI with business case in mind, which is where we really look at this at the intersection of, as I said at the beginning, products, factories, assets, and operations, and engineering technology, information technology, and operational technology converging with AI as a common denominator, so that you are really moving from design or digital intent to operational context, to perception, to intelligence, to execution, right? Thinking, let's take an automotive manufacturer, for example, right? What should happen in terms of within the four walls of the factory, for instance, for them to be able to convert their idea or a 3D model with the PMI information into a fully produced vehicle, for instance, right? So at the end of the day, that really what comes into shop floor, right? So you have a 3D model with PMI, you have all the raw materials. You need to go through a process to be able to convert that into a physical product that you could ship, right? So what should happen within the four walls of the shop floor? What's actually happening? What we see, and make decisions in milliseconds in real, and act with control. So those are the strategic capabilities the next generation factories would require. And what you're building ideally should be able to cater to this and enable this, right? So that's where the scale aspect comes, right? So as I said, there are going to be use cases that are going to demand sophistication, good, but if the solution doesn't cater to multiple use cases that could solve problems at the intersection of these dimensions, scaling is going to be a big question, right? So that's really how we look at as a company with 300 plus factories, and as a company that catered to 600 plus customers in the manufacturing space. And some examples I wanted to share, right? These are internal examples, right? So I didn't want to, I know it's being recorded. So the point is, there are physical AI capabilities in action today, right? So I'm sure you know this as well, right? Just to fuel from thought and also to give some motivation as you're building for the industries. For example, if you look at really from an energy and utility standpoint, as we commission substations at scale, right? So we are the largest energy technologies manufacturer and grid out integration and automation provider today. So as we commission next generation substations, for example, right? AI, physical AI plays a very vital role in terms of enabling, whether it is for providing better service or autonomous maintenance and so on and so forth, right? So there are examples of AI, physical AI in action today at scale that helps really utility providers get the right value out of what they need to get and ensure no or less downtime. Go to mobility, for example, in the rail car space, right? So rail cars today, as we are one of the largest manufacturer of rail cars, have become really a supercomputer on wheels, right? So there are about 1,400 sensors that exist in railcar today with real-time analysis of what's happening inside, around, under, above, to be able to make dynamic decisions and also become really a digital twin of what needs to happen and use that for command and control as well, right? And that's physical AI example at scale. Likewise, when it comes to broadly manufacturing, today AI and physical AI is already we are in the early stage, mainly from industrial and physical AI. There are examples of companies using this to drive better quality inspections, to better safety, and so on and so forth, right? So there are examples, but there are tremendous amount of problems and opportunities to solve as well. So I'm curious to learn in terms of what you guys are building and provide inputs more from an industry standpoint as you're building. So that's all. Any questions? Yeah.
Right over here.
So how far into your implementation of this Industry 5.0 are you? I'm a controls engineer, so I understand manufacturing I have a troubleshooting kit that increases reliability of plants. I'll show it to you after. I'm trying to see if you have your own implementation already, because I can see you can see the problem.
Yes, sorry, I didn't get your question. Is your question more related to example of 5.0 implementation, how long it takes, or?
It's more, it's more just saying, are you already implementing a solution in-house at Hitachi, or are you just giving the idea out there?
Great question. Both, right? So there are some of our factories that have attained World Economic Forum Lighthouse status, which means they are really running at the most cutting-edge digital technologies and attain higher maturity. To your point, yes, there are examples of us enabling our own internal companies and external companies embrace Industry 5.0 by implementing capability solutions, not necessarily from us, right? So we're a global consulting system integration managed services provider besides manufacturer. We bring the best of what the customer needs to be able to implement, integrate, and solve for them. In short, yes, examples of Industry 5.0 implementation exist. On the other hand, there are several use cases that need to be solved as well, right? So based on the kind of experience that we have been having, not all problems have been solved, right? Even if you take the traditional pick to light from an efficient warehousing standpoint and minimizing the time it takes for people to really go grab what you need to grab for their assembling process to take place, while we have solved the pick to light scenario, with AI and physical AI, what else can we do? How could that drive even further reduction of cycle time in the shop floor? So to your point, both.
Okay, I have a reliability platform. I'll show you after. It's an integration of a robot with SAS vibration sensors. It just removes downtime. So fault to fix the robotic system.
Sure.
I'll show you after. So 5.0 later.
Looking forward to it. All right, any other questions? Yeah, please.
Very nice. You talk about a lot of commercial aspects like Hitachi. If I try to take the other side of the world, which is I'm talking about defense industrial base or federal system integrator, how do you compare? Are they going at the same speed, same pace towards Industry 5.0 like Hitachi is going?
Some of the new, that's a great question, by the way, right? So the dimension there I look at is regulated companies versus non-regulated. Of course, every company is regulated, but if you're operating in aerospace and defense, or if you're operating in medical devices, pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical, that brings very lot of, for the lack of better term, nuances and constraints as well, right? In terms of when it comes to, for example, besides the ITAR and the usual stuff, the kind of regulations that the defense manufacturers need to comply to, and thereby, when it comes to their manufacturing processes, methodologies, and the technologies that need to adhere to, that is an extra layer the companies need to plan for. So thereby, if you look at from a digital maturity standpoint, you could draw a pattern in terms of non-regulated companies achieving higher maturity relatively faster than regulated companies because of the time it takes for them to become compliant. Classic example is in the pharmaceutical, biopharmaceutical, because FDA has very stringent protocols in terms of 21 CFR Part 850, 820, Part 11 that you need to comply to. Having said that, I cannot name the companies here, but there are new age defense players. I had an opportunity to go to one of their factories a few weeks ago. New age defense manufacturer developing completely autonomous combat equipments. Highly sophisticated, right? The question is the industry lagging? I wouldn't say yes, but are there patterns we see within the industry in terms of new entrants versus established players? Answer is yes.